What happens in the exact second your heart stops beating? What does your soul see when your body no longer responds? For centuries, humanity has feared death as the ultimate unknown. But what if the truth is far more shocking than silence or darkness? What if your consciousness does not end, but instead awakens to a reality you were never prepared to face? In this video, you will discover what happens immediately after death, step by step, based on spiritual accounts, near-death experiences, and ancient biblical wisdom that has been hidden in plain sight for thousands of years. Many believe death is the end, but those who have returned from the edge tell a different story. They describe a journey that begins the moment the last breath leaves the body, a journey where every choice, every word, every hidden intention becomes visible. A journey where you are no longer the person you pretended to be, but the person you truly were. And what you will discover today may change the way you live right now, because the truth is this: the life you are living today is shaping the reality you will face after death. Before we begin, I want to ask you something important. Take a moment right now and subscribe to this channel. This message needs to reach as many souls as possible, and your support makes that happen. Share this video with someone who needs to hear this truth. Now let us walk together through the 8 stages that await every soul after the final heartbeat. The human body shuts down, but the soul does not. In the exact instant the heart stops pumping blood and the brain ceases electrical activity, something extraordinary happens. The consciousness that was once bound to flesh suddenly breaks free. It does not fade into nothingness. It does not dissolve into darkness. Instead, it becomes sharper, clearer, more awake than it has ever been. This is not imagination. Thousands of people who have experienced clinical death and returned have described this exact phenomenon. They report floating near the ceiling, observing their own bodies being worked on by medical teams. They describe details they could not have seen from their position on the operating table. They recall conversations spoken in other rooms. This is not the end of awareness. This is the beginning of a new kind of seeing. But why does this happen? Why does the soul not simply vanish when the body dies? The answer lies in the eternal nature of the human spirit. In the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 12, verse 7, it is written, "Then shall the dust return to the earth as it was, and the spirit shall return unto God who gave it." The body is temporary, the soul is eternal. Death is not the destruction of who you are. It is the release of who you have always been. Yet this freedom comes with a cost. The soul quickly realizes it can no longer interact with the physical world. It tries to touch loved ones, but its hand passes through them. It tries to speak, but no one hears. It watches the grief of those left behind and feels a deep ache, not of pain, but of disconnection. The soul understands now that it has crossed a threshold it cannot return from. Some souls feel peace in this stage. They sense a presence guiding them, a warmth surrounding them, a light calling them forward. Others feel confusion or fear. They cling to the physical world, unable to accept that their time has ended. They linger near their bodies, near their homes, near the people they loved. But no matter how long they resist, the pull toward the next stage is undeniable. This is the first shock after death. You do not lose awareness, you gain it. You see everything you could not see before. You understand the fragility of the body you once thought was so important. You realize that the real you was never the flesh. It was always the spirit. And now that spirit is free, awake, and accountable. So tell me right now in the comments, have you ever felt the presence of someone who passed away? Have you ever sensed that death is not what the world told you it was? Comment below and share your experience. The soul does not move forward in confusion. It is met with something far more powerful than judgment. It is met with truth. In the moments following separation from the body, the soul enters into what many describe as a life review. This is not a simple memory. This is not watching scenes play out like a movie. This is reliving every moment with total clarity, total honesty, and total emotional intensity. Every word spoken, every action taken, every thought held in secret becomes visible and undeniable. The review does not happen in linear time. The soul experiences years of life in what feels like seconds, yet each moment is fully felt. The soul sees itself as a child, as a teenager, as an adult. It watches the choices it made, the people it hurt, the love it gave, the opportunities it wasted. But this review is not narrated by an external judge. There is no voice condemning or praising. The soul simply sees the truth of who it was, stripped of all excuses, all justifications, all self-deception. What makes this experience so shocking is the transparency. While alive, people hide behind words, appearances, and carefully constructed images. They lie to themselves about their intentions. They convince themselves that their actions were justified. But in the life review, none of that remains. The soul sees the real motivation behind every decision. It sees the selfishness disguised as generosity. It sees the love that was genuine. It sees the bitterness that poisoned relationships, and it cannot look away. The Bible speaks of this unveiling. In the book of Hebrews, chapter 4, verse 13, it is written, "Neither is there any creature that is not manifest in his sight, but all things are naked and opened unto the eyes of him with whom we have to do." Nothing is hidden, nothing is forgotten. The soul stands before the full weight of its own existence, and for the first time it understands what it means to be fully known. This is not punishment. This is revelation. The soul is confronting the truth it avoided its entire life. Some souls are overwhelmed by regret. They see the pain they caused and wish desperately they could go back and change it. Others are flooded with gratitude, realizing how much love surrounded them even when they failed to see it. Still others are shocked by how much time they wasted on things that never mattered. The career they obsessed over means nothing now. The grudges they held feel absurd. The pride they clung to feels embarrassing. The soul sees clearly what was truly important and what was utterly worthless. But the review is not only about mistakes. It also reveals every act of kindness, every moment of courage, every sacrifice made in love. The soul sees the times it chose compassion over cruelty, forgiveness over bitterness, truth over comfort. And in those moments, the soul feels something beyond relief. It feels alignment with a greater truth, a deeper reality that existed all along but was hidden beneath the noise of earthly life. This is the second stage after death. The soul is forced to see itself as it truly was, not as it pretended to be, not as others saw it, but as God saw it. And that truth is either the greatest comfort or the deepest terror the soul has ever known. So I want you to think about this right now. If your life were reviewed today, what would you see? What moments would bring you peace? And what moments would break your heart? Hit the like button if this is making you think differently about how you are living right now. The life review does not end with simply seeing your own actions. It goes deeper. The soul begins to feel what others felt because of those actions. This is not observation. This is total immersion. The soul steps into the emotional experience of every person it affected. It feels the joy it brought to a friend. It feels the pain it caused a spouse. It feels the fear it planted in a child. Every consequence, every ripple, every invisible wound or blessing becomes fully real inside the soul itself. Imagine standing in the shoes of someone you wronged. You feel their confusion when you lied. You feel their heartbreak when you betrayed them. You feel their shame when you humiliated them. You feel their loneliness when you abandoned them. This is not empathy as the living understand it. This is a total merging of emotional experience. The soul does not just understand the harm it caused, it lives it. And there is no escape. No rationalization can soften it. No excuse can erase it. The soul feels exactly what it made others feel. But this stage also reveals something equally profound, the good the soul brought into the world. It feels the warmth a stranger felt when the soul offered a kind word. It feels the relief a struggling person experienced when the soul gave without expecting anything in return. It feels the hope a broken heart found because the soul chose to stay and listen. Every small act of love, every moment of patience, every gesture of grace becomes magnified in this stage. The soul realizes that nothing was insignificant. Every choice mattered. This is where many souls experience the greatest shock of all. They discover that the things they thought mattered most had almost no spiritual weight. The promotions, the possessions, the status, the public recognition meant nothing in the eternal scope. But the quiet moments, the unseen sacrifices, the prayers whispered in secret, the forgiveness extended when no one was watching carried infinite value. The soul sees that God's economy is the opposite of the world's. What the world celebrated, heaven ignored. What the world overlooked, heaven treasured. The Bible confirms this reality. In the book of Matthew chapter 12, verse 36, it is written, "But I say unto you, that every idle word that men shall speak, they shall give account thereof in the day of judgment." Every word, every action, every impact, nothing is lost, nothing is overlooked. The soul stands in the full weight of its influence, and it cannot deny what it caused. This is not condemnation from an angry judge. This is the soul recognizing the truth of its own existence. Some souls are devastated by what they see. They realize they spent their entire lives hurting the people they claim to love. Others are stunned by how much love they gave without ever knowing its full impact. And still others feel profound sorrow for the wasted opportunities, the moments they could have chosen love, but chose pride, fear, or indifference instead. The soul understands now that life was not about accumulation. It was about contribution. It was about leaving the world more healed than broken. This is the third stage after death. The soul does not just see what it did, it feels what it caused, and that feeling becomes the foundation for everything that follows. So I want to ask you directly, how are your words and actions affecting the people around you right now? Are you building others up or tearing them down? Are you leaving love in your wake or pain? Take a moment right now and subscribe to this channel, because this message needs to reach every soul that is still living and still has time to change the impact they are making. The soul does not journey alone. After the life review, something shifts in the atmosphere. A presence arrives. Many who have returned from near-death experiences describe this as the most comforting moment of the entire transition. They speak of beings made of light, figures radiating warmth and love beyond human comprehension. Some recognize these beings as family members who passed before them. Others sense them as spiritual guides or angels sent to escort the soul forward. This presence does not arrive with condemnation. It arrives with recognition. The soul feels seen, known, and welcomed. There is no fear in this encounter, only a deep sense of belonging. The being does not speak with words, but with pure understanding. The soul receives knowledge directly, bypassing language entirely. It knows where it is going. It knows what comes next. And in that knowing, it feels either profound peace or deep unease, depending on the state of its heart. The Bible speaks of this divine accompaniment. In the book of Psalm 23, verse 4, it is written, "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me." The soul is not abandoned. It is not left to wander in confusion. God sends provision for the transition, ensuring that no soul crosses over without guidance. This is mercy in its purest form. But not all souls perceive this presence the same way. Those who lived in alignment with love and truth see the light as inviting and safe. They move toward it without hesitation. Others, whose hearts were hardened by bitterness, pride, or cruelty, perceive the same light as overwhelming or even threatening. The presence has not changed. The soul's condition determines how it experiences what is offered. This is not punishment imposed from outside. This is the natural response of a soul confronting holiness. Some souls resist. They turn away from the light because they are not ready to face what it represents. They cling to the familiar, even if the familiar was painful. They linger in the space between life and death, refusing to move forward. But the presence remains patient. It does not force, it waits. It calls, it offers again and again. The soul always has a choice, even in death. And that choice reveals everything about who the soul became during its time on earth. Others feel an instant pull toward the light. They recognize it as home. They sense that this is what they were made for, what they longed for without knowing it. The presence wraps around them like an embrace, and they surrender completely. There is no struggle. There is only release. The soul lets go of everything it held on to in life and steps fully into the next reality. This is the moment of true arrival. This is the fourth stage after death. The soul is met by a presence that reflects the nature of eternity itself, and how the soul responds to that presence determines the path it will take next. So let me ask you, if you were met by the presence of God right now, would you run toward the light or away from it? Would your soul feel peace or panic? Comment below and tell me what you believe happens when divine love meets a human soul. The word judgment terrifies most people. They imagine a courtroom, an angry judge, a sentence handed down with no mercy. But the judgment that comes after death is not what the world expects. It is not external condemnation. It is internal revelation. The soul is not judged by a distant deity pointing fingers. The soul judges itself by confronting the absolute truth of who it became. This is the most honest moment in all of existence. The soul stands before the light of God, and in that light, nothing can be hidden. Every motive is exposed, every secret is revealed, every pretense dissolves. The soul sees itself as God always saw it, and that vision is either devastating or liberating. There is no arguing, there is no defense. The soul simply knows. It knows whether it chose love or selfishness. It knows whether it served others or used them. It knows whether it sought God or ignored Him. This judgment is not about a list of sins being read aloud. It is about the condition of the heart being made fully visible. The Bible describes this perfectly. In the book of 1 Corinthians chapter 4 verse 5, it is written, "Therefore judge nothing before the time until the Lord come, who both will bring to light the hidden things of darkness and will make manifest the counsels of the hearts." The soul cannot hide behind religious rituals, good deeds done for show, or carefully managed reputations. God sees the heart, and now the soul sees it too. Some souls realize in this moment that they were never truly good. They were simply afraid of consequences. They followed rules not out of love, but out of fear. They served not because they cared, but because they wanted approval. And now, standing in the presence of perfect love, they see how hollow their lives were. The soul feels the weight of wasted years, of opportunities missed, of love rejected. This is not punishment imposed by God. This is the natural result of a life lived in spiritual emptiness. Other souls experience overwhelming relief. They see that despite their failures, their hearts genuinely sought God. They stumbled, they doubted, they fell short countless times, but their desire was always to love and to be loved. And in the presence of God, that desire is honored. The soul understands now that perfection was never required, sincerity was. God does not reject the broken heart, He receives it. The soul feels forgiveness not as a pardon but as a homecoming. This is where the soul's eternal direction is determined. Not by a sentence handed down, but by the soul's own response to truth. Does it accept the light or turn away from it? Does it surrender to love or cling to pride? The soul's choice in this moment reveals everything about who it truly was. And that choice cannot be faked. There is no pretending before God. The soul either belongs to the light or it does not. And it knows which one it is. This is the fifth stage after death. The soul confronts its own truth and realizes that judgment is not cruelty. It is clarity. It is the removal of every lie the soul told itself while alive. So I want you to think deeply right now. If you stood before God today, what would your heart reveal? Would you be confident in His love or terrified of His holiness? Comment below and share what you believe judgment really means. After the judgment, the soul enters a strange and unsettling space. It is no longer fully connected to the physical world, yet it has not fully entered the spiritual realm either. This is the limbo between dimensions. The soul exists in a state of transition, suspended between two realities. It can still perceive the material world, but it cannot interact with it. It watches life continue without it, and the experience is both heartbreaking and revealing. The soul witnesses its own funeral. It sees loved ones crying over the casket. It hears the eulogies spoken, some honest and some exaggerated. It observes family members arguing over possessions, friends pretending to grieve, and strangers whispering gossip. The soul sees the truth behind every reaction. It knows who truly cared and who only performed. It recognizes the shallow relationships it invested in and the deep ones it neglected. This observation is not meant to torment. It is meant to teach. Gradually, the soul begins to lose its attachment to the physical. The faces of loved ones start to fade. The sounds of the world grow distant. The pull of earthly concerns weakens. The soul realizes that the life it lived is truly over. There is no going back. No unfinished business can be completed. No apologies can be spoken. No goodbyes can be said. The soul must accept that its time on earth has ended and its existence has shifted into a new dimension entirely. The Bible speaks of this transitional state. In the book of Luke chapter 16 verse 26, it is written, "And beside all this between us and you, there is a great gulf fixed, so that they which would pass from hence to you cannot, neither can they pass to us that would come from thence." There is a separation that cannot be crossed. The soul cannot return to the living, and the living cannot reach the dead. This boundary is absolute, it is divine, it is unchangeable. Some souls struggle in this space. They are not ready to let go. They cling to memories, to people, to places. They hover near their former homes, trying desperately to make their presence known. They whisper to loved ones who cannot hear them. They touch objects that no longer respond. They scream into a void that swallows every sound. The soul feels trapped, not by external forces, but by its own refusal to move forward. Fear keeps it bound. Regret keeps it anchored. Pride keeps it resisting. Other souls accept the transition with peace. They understand that their earthly chapter has closed and a new one is beginning. They release their grip on the material world and turn their focus toward the light calling them forward. They feel sorrow for those left behind, but they do not let that sorrow trap them. They trust that God is guiding them towards something greater. They surrender control and allow the next stage to unfold naturally. This is the sixth stage after death. The soul lingers between worlds, watching the life it left behind fade into the distance. And in that fading, it learns what truly mattered and what was always an illusion. So let me ask you, if you could watch your own funeral right now, what would you see? Would people speak truth about who you were, or would they pretend? Comment below and tell me how you want to be remembered when your time comes. The soul now faces the most critical decision of its entire existence. It stands at a crossroads between two paths. One path leads toward the light, toward peace, toward God. The other path leads back toward the familiar, toward fear, toward attachment. The soul feels both pulls simultaneously. The light calls with warmth and promise. The darkness whispers with comfort and familiarity, and the soul must choose which voice it will follow. This is not a choice imposed by external forces. It is a choice that reveals the true nature of the soul. Those who spent their lives seeking truth, love, and surrender feel drawn to the light naturally. They recognize it as home. They move toward it without hesitation. But those who spent their lives clinging to control, pride, and fear feel threatened by the light. It exposes everything they tried to hide. It demands everything they refused to give, and so they turn away. The attachments formed during life become chains in death. The soul that loved money more than people finds itself bound to the memory of wealth it can no longer touch. The soul that worshipped power finds itself haunted by the influence it no longer wields. The soul that lived for pleasure discovers that every desire it fed now torments it. These attachments do not punish the soul. They trap it. The soul becomes a prisoner of its own unhealed heart. The Bible warns of this spiritual bondage. In the book of Matthew chapter 6 verse 21, it is written, "For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also." The soul's treasure in life becomes its prison in death. Whatever the soul valued most while alive determines where it remains after death. If it treasured God, it moves toward God. If it treasured the world, it remains bound to the memory of a world it can no longer have. The soul reaps what it sowed. Some souls recognize the trap and cry out for release. They see now what they refused to see while alive. They understand that their attachments were never worth the cost. They beg for mercy, for another chance, for freedom from the chains they forged themselves. And in that moment of desperation, grace meets them. God does not abandon the soul that genuinely repents. Even in death, His mercy reaches toward those who turn toward Him. But the soul must turn. It must choose. It must let go. Other souls refuse. They would rather remain in familiar darkness than surrender to unfamiliar light. They cling to bitterness, resentment, and pride. They blame God for their suffering while rejecting the very freedom He offers. They choose their cage because it feels like control. And in that choice, they seal their own fate, not because God rejected them, but because they rejected God. The door remains open, but they will not walk through it. This is the seventh stage after death. The soul chooses between surrender and resistance, between light and attachment, between freedom and bondage, and that choice determines everything that follows. So I want to ask you directly, what are you holding on to right now that you would not be willing to release even for God? What attachment is keeping your soul trapped? Comment below and be honest about what controls you, because awareness is the first step toward freedom. The journey ends where it was always meant to end. The soul arrives at its final destination, and that destination is not assigned by an external judge. It is determined by the vibrational frequency of the soul itself. Every choice made in life, every thought held, every emotion nurtured has shaped the soul into a specific spiritual frequency. And now, in death, the soul gravitates naturally toward the realm that matches that frequency. This is not reward or punishment. This is spiritual law. Souls that cultivated love, humility, and surrender find themselves in the presence of God. They enter into a dimension of peace that surpasses all earthly understanding. There is no more pain, no more confusion, no more longing. The soul is complete. It is home. It experiences joy not as an emotion, but as a state of being. It exists in perfect alignment with the divine, and in that alignment, it discovers what it was always meant to be. This is not the end of existence. This is the beginning of true life. Other souls find themselves in a very different place. They exist in realms of isolation, regret, and torment. Not because God placed them there, but because their own unhealed hearts created that reality. They are surrounded by others like themselves, souls trapped in bitterness, fear, and pride. There is no peace here. There is only the endless replay of their worst choices, their deepest failures, their most painful regrets. And the soul cannot escape because it refuses to let go of what keeps it bound. The Bible describes this separation clearly. In the book of Matthew, chapter 25, verse 46, it is written, "And these shall go away into everlasting punishment, but the righteous into life eternal." The division is not arbitrary. It is the natural result of the life lived. The soul that rejected God in life finds itself separated from God in death. The soul that pursued God in life finds itself united with God in eternity. Each soul receives exactly what it chose, even if it did not understand the choice it was making. But even in this final stage, the nature of eternity continues to unfold. Souls in the presence of God grow, learn, and evolve. They participate in divine purposes beyond human comprehension. They are not static. They are alive in ways the earthly mind cannot imagine. And souls separated from God also continue, but their experience is one of stagnation, emptiness, and endless longing for something they can never reach as long as they refuse to surrender. Eternity is not frozen. It is active, and every soul experiences it according to the state of their heart. This is the truth most people are not ready to hear. Your eternal destination is being decided right now. Every day you live, every choice you make, every thought you entertain is shaping the frequency of your soul. You are not waiting for Judgment Day to determine your fate. You are creating your fate with every breath. And when death comes, you will simply move into the reality you have been building all along. There is no surprise. There is only arrival. So here is the final question you must answer while you still have time. Where is your soul heading? Are you moving toward light or toward darkness? Are you letting go of what binds you or clinging tighter to what will destroy you? The choice is yours, but the window is closing. Death does not wait for you to be ready. It comes when it comes, and when it does, the soul you have become will determine the eternity you will experience. Subscribe to this channel right now and share this message with someone who needs to hear it. Because this is not just information. This is the most important warning you will ever receive.